Alright, welcome everyone. This is the Code of Conduct meeting, and the Code of Conduct meeting is really just to go through the rules for the camping trip. And the reason why I wanted to have this meeting is just that it's very, very clear about what will happen if kids are not following the rules. And what I have found in the past, if parents and kids are both in the know, then kids are more likely to follow the rules and nothing crazy happens. So we're just gonna read through this, and I'll talk to you guys about it, and then after that, I'll take questions about other questions that are lingering for the camping trip. So first rule, and everyone should have this paper. Students will be on their best behavior. Students will be representing Aspire California College Prep Academy during the trip.
El estudiante estará en su mejor comportamiento. Los estudiantes estarán representando a Aspire California College Preparatory Academy durante el viaje.
And the purpose of that just really is, long story short, when we're out on these trips, people don't remember like this individual person did it. They remember that our school did it, and what ends up happening is they don't want to invite our school back, or we get a bad reputation, and we just really don't want that. So it's very important that kids, when they're going on the trip, are doing their best job. All right. Rule number 2, students will cooperate with the chaperones and classmates.
Los estudiantes cooperarán con los chaperones y los compañeros de clase.
And this is just really like the parent chaperones are like really nice, and they're giving their time, like they're taking off time off work to come, and we just really want to make sure kids are respecting them. And also the teachers, like teachers are spending the night here, where typically they would work for a few hours and then they would go home. So the people who are coming are really like giving up a lot of their time and energy, and we really want to make sure kids are doing their best to respect them. All right, number 3. Students who violate rules or code of conduct are subject to disciplinary action and will not continue on the class trip. It will be the parent's responsibility to pick up their child immediately. If a parent cannot pick up their child, and students will be sent home on a bus, and parents are responsible for any transportation fees.
Los estudiantes que violen reglas o códigos de conducta están sujetos a acción disciplinaria y no continuarán en el viaje de clase. Será responsabilidad de los padres recoger a su hijo inmediatamente. Si un padre no puede recoger a su hijo, el estudiante será enviado a casa en un autobús y los padres son responsables de los gastos de transporte.
So this didn't happen at all in previous trips. It just really like has to be stated in case like a kid decides to come and they're not going to listen to adults. If that happens, it's unsafe for that kid to be in that environment. We're out in nature, there's poison oak, there's all these different things that can happen, and if a kid's not listening and they're not complying and listening, they're putting themselves at risk and they're putting other people at risk. So long story short, if kids are like really, really getting into major conflicts and fighting or anything, they have to go home. I talked to the parents who are going to be on the trip, and I talked to the teachers who are going to be on the trip, and the way we have like phrased it is that we actually want the trip to be really fun. That's our main goal. So we don't want the trip to be about like kids worried about getting in trouble at all, because honestly, that's not fun. With that said and done, like this is how chaperones have been explained to respond. Is just simply like, hey, this is what we're all doing right now. Can you come join us? Like very positive, very positive. And if kids are not listening, to talk to a teacher. And kids tend to listen to teachers more just because they have a relationship with us, where they're with us every single day. And teachers are intervening. Our principal's going to be on the trip, so if a student's not listening to parents or teachers, they'll check in with our principal, and our principal ultimately is going to make the decision if a kid stays or leaves. Like I said, this doesn't happen. Kids don't leave typically, but in the case that something serious really happened, a kid might have to go home. And Point Reyes is an hour and a half away. Next up, number 4. Students will not bring, purchase, or use alcohol or illegal drugs at any time on this trip. Same thing for chaperones, so there will be no use of anything whatsoever, and that just can't be on the trip. And I think that's a no. I mean, I'm sure you guys all agree with that.
Los estudiantes no traerán, comprarán ni usarán alcohol o drogas ilegales en ningún momento durante este viaje.
Students will not engage in behavior that includes fighting, vandalism, lewd behaviors, including sexual activity, possessions of a weapon, threatening, stealing, or accompanying others who are engaging in these behaviors. So just none of that. Nothing that is not school appropriate is not, or age appropriate is gonna happen on the trip.
Los estudiantes no participarán en comportamientos que incluyan peleas, vandalismo, comportamientos obscenos, incluyendo actividad sexual, posesión de un arma, amenazar, robar o acompañar a otros que estén involucrados en estos comportamientos.
And to be transparent, I'm not worried about these things happening. They have not happened. But we're just saying them just so that we're all clear. And that's, if they do anything like that happen, that's automatically going to go home. And again, no one has gone home before. None of this has happened before, but we're talking about it. Students will be checked on frequently, and students will comply with designated curfew time and remain in their assigned rooms during sleeping hours.
Los estudiantes serán revisados con frecuencia y los estudiantes cumplirán con los horarios de toque de queda designados y permanecerán en las habitaciones asignadas durante las horas de sueño.
And for that one, hello, welcome. For that, it's just very simple of like the kids are going to be assigned a cabin, and the kids are to stay in their cabins, and they're not going to leave their cabins. When it's lights out, it has to be lights out. And the reason why that is just, again, to keep kids safe. Kids cannot leave the cabins if the lights are out, and they have to be supervised. And there's going to be a teacher in each cabin, so there won't be any time where kids are not supervised. They're going to be supervised at all times. So for 7, male students will be grouped together while sleeping in a tent. Female students will be grouped together while sleeping in a tent, and these are cabins, not tents. Absolutely no visitation between any tent with a member of the opposite sex will be allowed. I'm also gonna add, there's actually no visiting other people's cabins, like period. The cabin you're in is the cabin you're in, and the reason for that is we don't want anything to come up missing. There's specific rules for each cabin, and we just don't want anyone going to other people's cabins and there to be any issues. So whatever cabin you're in, that's the cabin you're allowed. You're not allowed anyone else's cabin.
Los estudiantes varones se agruparán mientras permanezcan en casas de acampar. Las alumnas se agruparán mientras permanezcan en una casa de acampar. Absolutamente no se permitirá ninguna visita entre habitaciones de casas de acampar con un miembro del sexo opuesto.
Students are not permitted to smoke. Again, I have not experienced this before, and if it happens, kids automatically go home to their parents, and parents will be notified immediately.
A los estudiantes no se les permite fumar.
School rules must be followed at all times. So even though we're on the trip, kids still have to comply and go follow all those school rules.
Las reglas de la escuela deben ser seguidas en todo momento.
So this document really is just literally just so I can talk to you, and then you can talk to your kids about the rules. I expect all the kids to follow the rules, and I know that you do too. And I don't expect any of these things to happen, but it is important that we talk about it ahead of time so that kids have a clear expectation around the trip. And this is where I want to ask if there's questions about camping trips that are coming up for the rules. Well, that's pretty much it. That's all I have. I just maybe some reassurance to you all. I just sat down with all the parent chaperones and the teacher chaperones, and I'm just going to go through with all the expectations. One of the expectations that we're going to have is we're going to have a trio rule, and I'm going to go over this with kids too. So first of all, we're going to always stay in our big groups, and then in big groups, there's going to be supervision by multiple adults. If ever a kid leaves the group, we're going to have a trio rule where kids have to leave in 3s. And the reason for that, and that's even if they leave with another adult. And the reason for that is we're never going to get in a situation where it's like 2 kids who sneak off and try to break a rule. It's really hard to tell a third friend to break a rule. And also, one kid is never going to be left alone with one adult. There's always going to be at least 2 people, so there's always someone else there. So, and that's just for safety and precaution and making sure that everyone's safe. So that is like the big thing. We're always going to be in a group, or we'll be in a group of 3 at the very smallest. Any other questions that might come up? I think the last thing I just wanted to share with you all is there's no candy on the trip, and I know kids are gonna be disappointed about that. Can you actually translate that?
Could you say it again?
There's no candy on the trip.
No va a haber dulces en el viaje.
Kids can have snacks. So, and I'm gonna go over this again with kids in class. They can put them like in a gallon bag and put their name on it, and they can have snacks on the trip, but no candy. because a campsite is really, really picky about wrappers. And if they find wrappers, then they're gonna charge our school extra money, one. And then two, on top of that, there's wild animals, and we don't want them in our cabin, so we don't want kids sneaking candy, and then all of a sudden we come home and there's something in our cabin, like, so no candy on the trip. But kids can bring snacks, and they can bring snacks and just put in a bag, and we're gonna keep the snacks in the refrigerator. And there's a giant refrigerator, like a walk-in refrigerator, so your kids can bring snacks, they just can't bring candy in their backpack so that there's no issues with mice or rats or anything.
Excuse me, that means nothing sweet like cookies.
They can have cookies. They just, I don't want candy wrappers. It's the wrappers. If like, let's say there's like a bunch of wrappers. Yeah, we'll have to pay a fee if they're buying them. But if you have a pack of cookies, it's fine because it's just one wrapper, and then they'll throw it in the trash. It's like more like if a bunch of little candy wrappers around, we'll get in trouble. Any questions? You guys are, this is like a quiet class. Check for understanding. I'm just kidding. All right, well, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna actually ask you, Zala, you can turn the camera off now.